Good morning, Indira. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm excited. We are going to be talking about meditation today,
Yeah.
the eighth element of our eight element conversations over the last 8 weeks. So let's obviously make sure folks are aware. Creative visualization, mindfulness, intention, energy, journaling, attunement. I know I'm missing one before we get to
Well, you missed last time, contemplation.
contemplation. That's right. I have to contemplate that one. Contemplation and now meditation.
Excuse me.
I love meditation because it's something that my sister got me into over Christmas. And I know there's so much around it. I've done meditation in the past. Deepak Chopra and Oprah have a series. I know that meditation is something that people may think they understand. I keep learning something new about it. But before we go into that, I just want to say we were pre-chatting before recording around the eight elements. And since I've read them and done these sessions with you, they have brought more to my life and my self-mastery than they did when I read them when you shared your book with me last year. So I do feel that as folks are going through this process with us, I empower them, encourage them, invite them to go backwards and even just listen to them and see how it's affecting and improving their lives daily, weekly, today and moving forward.
That's great. It's so lovely that you say that, because I have to do the same. I go over things and I reread, rewatch and listen, and because our brain's got to get it somehow, the mind has to get it somehow. And that logical side of us that really does need to learn mentally, but meditation is learning physically, experientially, and that's where our real knowledge comes from anyway. So the mind is actually, or our life is enriched when we experience something to learn it, as much, if not more so, than if we're just reading about somebody else's ideas or their experience of something in life. So this, as I've said many times and early on, that transformation is a practice, not a theory. So we need to go back and look at the theory, but apply it. Like apply the methods, try it out.
I love how you said that. The transformation is not a theory, it's a practice.
Yeah, transformation is a practice, not a theory.
Got it. I love that.
And the self-responsibility is we have to do it. Change happens from within.
Exactly. If anyone waiting for change to happen from the outside, good luck. You'll be waiting a very long time.
And that's the truth of it, because we're caught up in that external, the laws of matter and the world of objects, in order for something to come to us, in order for it to make us feel different. So we've been talking about how we create life from the inside out. And then you can walk time. Then you're going into a whole different relationship with time, and it will behave differently with you.
Just on that, Indira, when we think about meditation and how you just said that, creating life from the inside out, could you elaborate a bit more? What do you mean by that?
Well, we've been talking about creative visualization as essentially the first step in bringing something into being for us, into life for us. So, and then we add our intention to that, to say, yes, I really want to do this. I want this for myself. So we're working from the inside rather than looking at the external world, a lot of which we don't like, a lot of which we wish we didn't have, and a lot of which we don't want. So if you really want to create a life that's full of the things that you want, essentially that's about you deciding what is that going to be, and putting yourself into processes that will actually help to magnetize and bring those things to you, or for you to create from scratch, like a beautiful painting. But you can think of your life as a beautiful painting, the parts of it. What do you want to have on that canvas that is your life and that you're proud of and would be happy to look back on? look at it for a long time. So it's not so much this victim of the world we live in. What we want to do, and we're talking about global climate change, we're talking about greater health, we're talking about greater wealth. At the moment, we're all looking at how can we make this better. We have to do that from the inside out, and we'll do it together. But it has to come from each individual, and what's our idea of a great life, a life worth living.
I love that. In your book, you mention meditation is the foundation. And you go on by saying meditation allows the mind to rest, the ego to let go, and the body to heal itself into a new balance and harmony that is health. And we obviously talked last week about harmony stemming from attunement.
Yes.
And because we read so much about meditation, I want to come back to attunement here in a minute, but what's your belief or your thought on meditation? What does it instill? What does it create in yourself or in others?
And this is talking from experience for myself, and part of the reason I took up meditation in the first place was for me to be feeling truly powerful as the person that I know myself to truly be. When we really know of our own essence, and we have a constant sense, I think anything that we're striving for is really that we want to get to that feeling of being a very powerful, creative person with a lot of agency, a lot of control, if you like, of our own life, of our own world, and who we want to be, who we want to grow into, and how we want to be. So for me, meditation was the way to tap into that and bring that energy forward, that really conscious energy that is me, my soul, my spirit, that knows what it wants from a very, very noble and high perspective. But I think the greatest thing that then comes from that is self-trust and self-reliance, and also self-acceptance, really feeling good about yourself, like feeling good in yourself, and therefore what we probably would call now self-worth. But you know your value, you know your own value, and that you're limitless. So there's a deeply spiritual, mystical thing that sits behind this for me, as in, without wanting to put it tritely, is truly living as a spiritual being in a physical body, in a human body.
When it comes to what you just mentioned around that self-reliance, that self-trust, the self-acceptance, I think that's beautiful, because I don't think we practice that as much as we should. And we should be practicing that daily, minutely, hourly. And there's something you say in your book around, meditation is a daily dose of love. And I almost want to kind of say it's a bit of daily dose of self-love, right? And hopefully that love for yourself will then kind of emanate from you and go from the internal to the external. Could you maybe kind of talk me through how has meditation allowed you to do that? Like, what does it mean for you?
Well, actually, when I say it's a daily dose of love, it is my own love, but it's more than that. It's love with a capital L. So when we talk about source, and we talk about source being our own divine self, our higher self, God, whatever name you want to put to that incredible life-giving energy that has massive intelligence, amazing intelligence to it, then my experience has been to actually feel that love flowing through me. And I know, and I shared with you today, that in struggling to settle into meditation this morning, I reminded myself of that. I came back to, I have all the answers within me. I am that, actually. It's nowhere else. It's actually part of me. So tap into that, and then I can be more loving with myself, because that source is unconditional love. So the more I have meditated, the more love I have felt. And there was actually a time in a relationship I was in where that was so palpable. It was actually a bit difficult for him, because in many ways it took us out of that slightly more codependent, enmeshed or needy kind aspect of relationship, because I didn't need him for that love. And I also knew he was love too. So we could just be together. But it was an interesting shift in the dynamic of the relationship for a while, because I no longer felt needy.
Why is that? What was it from meditation that unlocked that for you?
I think it was that love and support that I absolutely knew was there. I just needed to tap into it, regardless of the situation. And at the time, there was a lot going on behind the scenes. It was extraordinarily difficult, hangover from a divorce, all those sorts of things, that was making my life pretty tough. And so I was challenged all the time. But this is where the self-reliance came in, and the self-trust, because when you can get into that space of incredible love and all of the virtues and qualities that go with that, I found that I was making very good decisions that I could stand in and feel my own conscience was clear. I knew it was the right thing, even though they were tough things at times to do. I just knew they were the right thing. So I was living not only from my values, but living from a core of true responsibility and what was best for everyone, as well as for me. And if people didn't quite agree, or it was causing some issues along the way, I absolutely knew it was the right thing to do. I was immovable on that. And we talked about that with attunement. You become so solid in, this is right. And I am going to do this. I will do it this way. And it was driven by love. It was driven by love.
And I think, it's interesting how sometimes some people think, well, love comes from the outside. Like, I need to receive love in order to have love.
Mm-hmm.
And what I actually completely agree with. I mean, it's funny, when I first started meditating, I started, 30 minutes a day, and then I kind of slipped, and I was like, okay, if I can't do 30 minutes, I'm not doing it today. And then I was like, hang on a second, it's like saying I love you to someone, like, or I love you to myself. It takes a split second. So even if I just do meditate for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like, it's still better than not hearing it or not saying I love you at all. And I do agree with you in terms of how it has this ability to unlock that self-reliance, that self-trust. One thing I recently experienced, and we've chatted about this too, is the state of mind when you are meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the experience of, I've got thoughts, things I'm thinking about that's happened to me, or things I'm going to be doing. And I think I told you, I interrupted myself from meditating to jot a few thoughts down and then go back to it. And I was like, oh, great. But, not being in the present when I was meditating, and the importance of being present in the present. Can you share your thoughts on your experiences of meditation in that, like, not getting lost in thought, not getting lost in what's happened or what's going to happen, and being in the present when you meditate?
I think that's the important thing, is not getting lost in it. It's not that it won't happen. And when you sit down, you realize what your brain's doing, right? All those thoughts are there. And it's about not following the thought, not letting it develop and lead to other things. It's phenomenal where the mind will go. And next thing, you're back into memories from the past and telling stories about that, and then getting into the feeling of that. And that's not the feeling necessarily that we want, unless it's a great feeling. But to meditation, I think the myth about meditation is that it's blank. Your mind has stopped. Eventually it will give up, absolutely. The more practiced you become, the sooner your mind will give up. But stuff goes on in life. So my meditation is different every single day. Every time I sit, it's different. So you don't judge your meditation. Simply have to recognize, where's my awareness? at the moment? Is it in my heart? Is it in with source? Is it about just being able to go and tap into all that lovely bliss and peace and real knowledge? Or am I caught up and aware and listening to my brain, you know, or my mind doing things? So it's a matter of, it's there. What's important, the thing I've also learned is whatever I'm thinking of that's important will still be there later. So it's better to not give it a lot of tension or just go, oh, okay, I'll come back to that one, let go of the rest. But I'll come back because it will be there. Your own consciousness will bring it back up. So I've learned to trust it. It's not going to get lost.
It's interesting because the meditation I do is partly guided and it's partly music. And she even says, she's like, gently brush away your thoughts. And I love that because it's like, you know, it's not like, hey, cram those, like almost like don't go into a battle with your brain. We've talked about this too. Don't go into a battle with your body and your brain to kind of force it to calm down or be present. Just in terms of the duration of meditation, and whether someone should do a guided or non-guided meditation, just what's been your experience with some, you know, just how you meditate and the duration or the approach? Sure, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Any length of time, because it takes a while to get into a meditative state because we're lowering our brain waves. And we can learn to lower them quicker as we practice meditation, to get into meditation. If I'm super, super tired, I have no resistance at all, and I will just fall into meditation, and I'll probably blank out completely, and I could be sitting there for an hour, and then I'm suddenly awake and aware, and it's like, where am I? What time is it? And oh gosh, that was amazing. I've got no recollection of where I was. And that's rare, but it can and will happen. So we've got to give ourselves time and like clear the mind. Just let it do what it's wanting to do. However, also teach it, harness it. It's like wild horses, you know, like you just slowly put the harness on and you bring it back into a focus. So having a guided meditation is a great idea. While all you're doing is giving the mind something else to focus on. And at least it's a guided meditation that's going to be teaching you how to get into meditation. So it's training the mind. But the thing about sitting and how long is really however long it is. So at first, just aim for 5 or 10 minutes. My learning was 20 minutes. That was my aim, because I knew that I'd probably have 5 minutes trying to get in, about 10 minutes in meditation, and 5 minutes to slowly come out, because it's also very important that you come out of meditation slowly, because it actually makes it easier to go back into meditation the next time. But if you jolt yourself out and you jump up and off you go, and you give yourself a few minutes to just be with that meditative energy, feel how you're more aware of your surroundings, brainwaves are starting to come back up into everyday kind of level. But the great experience of that is, over time, you'll find that your brainwaves are actually at a lower level a lot of the time in the day, and you'll be more focused and not as fatigued as well. So just make it a practice of 20 minutes, and then if it's shorter, longer, it doesn't matter. There's no rule about this. What they do say is that in terms of the effects on the body, that 20 minutes of meditation is equivalent to the value of 2 hours of sleep. And when I was a single mum with young kids, I did not miss my meditation, no matter how exhausted I was at night time, because I would say, all right, it's 11, I should be in bed, and I've got to get up at 6:30 to get them to preschool care and me off to work by 7:30 or whatever, 8 o'clock. I will not miss this meditation, because 20 minutes is equivalent to 2 hours sleep anyway. And that's what I taught my brain to believe in order to sit anyway. Just do it.
See, that's brilliant, because I've been tired, and I'm always like, oh, what if I fall asleep while I meditate? Or I have noticed, like, sometimes I meditate and I'll kind of rock like I'm about to like Is that what is that? Is that a misconception? Is that a possibility of kind of falling asleep while you're
Want
meditating?
to fall asleep, but it's not sleep. It's like an aware sleep. The yogis call it the yogic sleep. It's when your brainwaves have gone into delta, which is really low, slow brainwaves, and it's like an aware sleep essentially. But we sit up for meditation so we won't fall asleep. Because meditation is also learning to be aware in that space, being in that very still space and awake, because that's where you want to create life from. So you want to be aware of what you're doing.
Which is why, in your book, you mentioned, I love this, meditation, as you said, slowly stills the mind and allows you to sink into the calm of your higher mind. But don't be surprised if you find yourself greatly energized and ready for action after meditation. 100%. I've been there. There are times where I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, come back to reality, come back. And I'm like, I just want to stay in this space.
Yes.
But when I do actually jump into a call or a meeting, or even just I go for a run, like I do feel it's amazing how and actually you've even written it here, you're like, meditation will move blocks to your emotional and mental energies and works on the physical body to allow further energy movement within the body's systems. I mean, this is, I'm sure, coming from you, from experiencing that. Like, can you share, what do you mean by that? Why is that? Yeah.
So, well, it's a bit like anything to do with, I guess, the more ancient arts of medicine, but particularly Chinese medicine, was you understand that we need the qi, we need prana, the life force within us to move without any blocks. That's what disease is. It will create blocks in the energy, and then things start to metastasize and break down in where those blocks are. So meditation actually, I mean, I don't have all the answers to this scientifically, right, or biologically, but what I do know, and particularly through the healing work that I've done, is that when you lower your brain waves, particularly into theta, so everyday life is beta, very busy, dragon fast, and that's why the mind's already going. Then we drop into alpha, so that's like walking on the beach, watching TV. We become really, really receptive and impressionable in that state. And a lot of kids, the little ones, are usually in alpha, and that's why they can hear you from 3 rooms away and laugh at your jokes, and you think, how on earth did they hear me? They have no boundaries on it, right? They are so impressionable. There's no boundaries to their senses. So that's what happens when we go into alpha. And then you go into theta, and when we're in that state, everything starts to rebalance and harmonize. So all of the systems in the body, our emotions, our energy flow, all starts to come back into balance. And we can start to be more of a medium for that energy for others as well. So healers are in theta when they're healing, and that energy is able to flow through them, and they're rebalancing. Energy is rebalancing. In delta, you're in really, really deep states.
That makes sense.
So, and there's even a thing called theta healing. But essentially, what we're doing in meditation is true meditation, we're dropping into at least theta. And so that's why we freshen up, because everything's cleared up, and the prana, the energy of our breath, is able to move more freely again.
That's beautiful. No,
It is. It's so remarkable. If I'm tired and I don't want to sleep, like in the middle of the day, it's better for me to just sit for 15, 20 minutes, start dropping down, and sometimes it will feel like sleep, or I want to sleep after that. I realize how tired I am.
That's fair. So Indira, I think one thing that I know is when I hear you talk about meditation, like I mean, again, I do it. I subscribe to it. I think it's beautiful. And I have actually started, 30 minutes thing, went back down to 5, 10, 15, and 30, 10, 20. So because I feel like it does give me a different feel when I'm doing it and after. But I know there are some people who are probably a bit reluctant to pick up on meditation, to try it out, to do it themselves. and probably make it a habit at some stage. Why is that? What is it that people are reluctant about when it comes to maybe picking up meditation and giving it a try?
I can think of three things immediately. One is really not understanding what meditation is and how to get there. So they make it a lot harder than they think it needs to be, or what they think meditation is going to be, what it has to do for them almost. And there's, I think, some laziness in it of they don't want to sit still. So it can be uncomfortable sitting still. And when we're used to being so busy and you just want to jump up, there were times when I was really getting into meditation where I would just want to get up and run. It was like agitation would be coming up. There's a whole part of me that did not want to just be still and go into a space I didn't know, a space I wasn't necessarily familiar with. And the other, so that's kind of two reasons there. And it leads into a third one, which is, I think that there are times when, and I have come across people who actually are very afraid of looking at themselves. So keeping themselves busy means they don't need to look at themselves or be with where they are at the time. With whatever's happening in the moment, it's a very uncomfortable place. Now, for knowing you as I do these days, I know you are not uncomfortable with asking questions of yourself and your own discomfort. You'll go into working out why that is and how to fix it, and you'll go and walk and think about it and contemplate and do a lot of the things really that are part of the 8 elements. Then you'll journal and write about it, and before you act, you're thinking it through, you're reflecting. So, but there are many who don't do that or don't want to do it, don't even think about doing that. And some of it has been, I've worked with executives who've actually said they're scared of what they'll see about themselves if they meditate. So that says to me they don't think very highly of themselves. So if there's some self-worth issues or some, things you can't forgive about yourself, or I, for one, was a fourth reason for me was I was frightened that I would disappear. It was like, what happens in meditation if I'm not there and I'm not aware? So that was a control issue, really. And fortunately, someone who was a meditator and that I happened to share it with said to me, you can always come back, Indira. You can always come back. But I think that was also an awareness at some level of the vastness of the experience that can be had in meditation as well. So I think there's a very big control issue around whether you're prepared to meditate or not.
See, and that's what's amazing, because you summarize all 4 of those, and it's like just, afraid of not being in control when you meditate, because you're right. Either you don't understand it, you're uncomfortable sitting still, you're afraid of looking at yourself, you're afraid that you might disappear. I mean, it's almost like it's a lot of fear and unease, and it's ironic because actually meditation is what helps you be in the present to almost overcome that. And, right. And it's funny because we were talking about how ideally in general we should always be in the present, and it's ironic that even you and I, when we meditate, it's like, well, we want to be in the present now, because when we're done meditating we want to go back to being in the world where we're looking backwards and forwards. And it's like, how do we just, it's almost like, yeah, and just being present all the time, 24/7, 365, 366 on the leap years. But I wanted to then kind of maybe as a starting point, because I feel that meditation is an 8th element. We're not going to do this topic justice in just one chat. We actually are going to do a follow-up, because I do feel there's much more, and I want to hear more what meditation has been for you in there, because you've gone through it, you've gone through this journey, you've traveled, and you've gone to the home of it. And but for those white belts, as I love to as I call myself, what is it that should be some fundamental practices just to start meditation, to get into it? I know that you've mentioned there are obviously many ways to do it, and it just depends on what suits people. whether it's quiet time, just what are your building blocks or beginners points or tips?
Well, there's two things about it. One is we're trying to pull all of the senses in from the external world. We need to not be with what is in that moment, because we want to create something that is more of what we do want. So we need to stop looking at how things are around us. So this is why we get quiet, and we do all the things we can to distract the senses from that. And therefore, we also need it to be a habit, because it will then become an automatic thing. When you put your PJs on, when you're getting ready for bed, you're signaling to your whole system, you're going to go to sleep soon. So we set it up so that everything is signaling you're going into meditation. And so you have the same place in your house, in your room. Find, for me, it was a corner in the bedroom where I could sit against the wall and feel supported until I could really sit up upright and get stronger myself. And that's why we do hatha yoga, is strengthen the body in order to be able to sit for meditation comfortably, because we don't want any aches and pains distracting us. We want to be able to sit and let the body just be still, comfortably still. So it's about, I have my same cushion, I have the same place, I have a candle on a table in front of me and some flowers and anything, other symbols that I have to remind me of what is sacred for me. And you can have some nice perfume in the room, like a room scent, or you can have the incense burning. So, and be in the dark. It's better to be in the dark. So the eyes aren't looking at anything much except maybe a candle flame. And your senses, your nose isn't smelling anything other than a really beautiful perfume. With hearing, I usually play either a meditation instruction, or I will have chants or mantras playing, or just a tambura, the Indian tambura. But something that's not going to let me hear external noise. It will distract, and it's calming, soothing music, of a soothing sound. Ultimately, it would be great to do it in total silence, but we don't always live that way. And then I tend to have the same clothes to wear when I'm sitting for meditation as well.
It's one thing on that one that I wear bright clothes. It was recommended to me, so I wear like a bright shirt and comfortable, like bright bottoms, so that way it's
something, the color feels good to you.
Yeah, and it was encouraged, like, rather than wearing dark clothes, like just wear bright, lighter clothes.
Because darkness is not where we want to be.
No.
But also black is not a color, right? It's a void. It's actually a hole in our color scheme. And but also you're going to have your eyes closed. So in the end, it doesn't matter greatly. But it is certainly a nice vibration of color for you wearing it. So you're always in, and try to pick the same time as well. And then, as we said, aim for about 20 minutes. So you could have, now you can have those gorgeous Tibetan gongs as alarms instead of, find something nice if you're going to set the phone to just give yourself that sense of time. And then you can let go. You're not thinking, am I going to be late? Am I going to, look, what's happening after I've meditated? So you set it up and you take the phone off the hook, you take the, turn off your mobile phone. And I used to also tell people around me, like my own children, I need you to be quiet now, just do your homework or go out to play, because I'm meditating, and in 20 minutes time, I'll be free and we'll get on with getting dinner, or we'll get on with going off to do whatever. This is my time now. So always signaling it's my time for me, and in bringing the senses into that moment. So that's how you set it up.
It's interesting because we go back to what preceded this your answer about, why are people reluctant to do it? And I sometimes think about, so as a runner, cyclist, and swimmer and weightlifter, like I'm thinking, oh, before I'm about to exercise, I'm like, oh, this is gonna hurt. Like, and in a way I'm looking forward to, I'm like, oh, this is gonna hurt good. Like I'm gonna really push it today, and I'm gonna hit the pavement, and I've got my kit, my trainers, my shorts. I'm like, all right, got the music. I'm like, I'm ready to go outside. I got my watch. I'm ready to measure and track but with meditation, there's no pain. There's no struggle.
No.
There's no external forces, wind, rain, cold, heat, sweat. It's you. And I think that's what's so amazing with meditation is you may be a bit reluctant to start doing it, but once you start doing it, you won't regret it. And I think that's the one funny thing I think people have when they're like nervous about trying this. It's, as soon as you make it a habit, you realize the habit that gives back to you rather than you're having to exert more than you're getting.
Absolutely. Spot on. It's generating energy. It's generating power.
Yeah.
And I wear a shawl as well. I have a summer one, a lovely silk one for when it's quite warm. But putting a shawl on, even then, I'm not even really feeling the air moving around me. I'm not like my whole body's encapsulated in this shawl, and I find it difficult to meditate without the shawl on, actually. So I have a winter one for being warmer. So there's whatever you can do to make it really comfortable, and it's a lovely experience, and there is no struggle. I mean, for a while, yes, because it takes practice to draw the mind in and let go, and really let go. I remember the day when I hit meditation, as in I've just fell into that space, that opening, what feels like an empty space.
And something we've not talked about, which is the reason why, again, we're going to do more on this, but meditation doesn't have to be a solo sport. It doesn't have to be a solo practice. You can do it with someone sitting next to you, around you, at the same time as you. My sister does it with a group on the weekends. She does it individually on the weekdays. But I think there's so much more to this. Like, don't feel like you're doing it alone, or you're raising your body. It's weird. Like, I just find like I'm calming my mind and bringing my brainwaves down, but at the same time, like I'm emanating energy, just positive, pure energy out. And that's powerful.
Totally powerful. And what you're talking about there is what we talked about in attunement last week, is your frequency is lifting, right? Your whole vibration, and we are energy vibrations. This is not ooh-woo, new agey stuff. We have to get past that. We are an energy field, an electromagnetic field, right? So your vibration is lifting and getting finer, and you're getting all that fresh energy flowing as well. And your brain waves are dropping. So your mind is resting and going into a deeper space. And then you get the connection with source. That's when it all starts to happen. So it's exactly that. You lower the brain waves in order for your frequency to come up, and then you're attuning to a far healthier, pure kind of energy, instead of where you might have been or how you're feeling at the time.
So as an American,
emotions as well because of that.
No, and what's interesting about this, is like, as an American, like growing up, infomercials, people are like, you've got to try this, you gotta buy this equipment, or you gotta do, you hear that sound, you're just like, oh, okay, I'll do it because you tell me. But like with meditation, it's like, we're not forcing anyone to do it, but like, it's like, embrace it, because it has amazing benefits. It's powerful in its own right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I would love to do a part 2 with you next week, just because I think there's more to your journey with meditation. I'd love you to share with me, with us, with the group. So Indira, unless you, any closing thoughts just for today, just because I feel like this is that 8th element. Any closing thoughts from your side?
Well, just in terms of why we would want to do this, I think is, for me, now that I've know it and experienced it, there's a very mystical, spiritual reason for doing it. But the other reason for it is then I can create the life of my dreams. Like this is heaven on earth kind of approach to life. So when we tap into that energy that wants the best for us, then the best will happen for us. And so we were talking before about is if we have to handle anything in the now, we can only handle it from who we are at the time. So it's not, we don't want to be handling it as we were if it wasn't working for us. So meditation really does give you that. It's very hard. I don't know. I don't think with my human brain I can understand how it works, but life gets better. So if you're looking for how you can make your life better, this is absolutely the way to do it. The ego gets out of the way, the fears dissolve, you're not in the amygdala anymore, the old part of the brain that's on alert all the time. You've gone into the space where you know that you are the creator of your own existence, you know, your reality. It's an incredibly powerful thing. You know, why would you not want that? Tap into that, and then you can live it more and more through the day. The idea is when you know that state and you're training your body to be in that state because it's feeling it, you'll carry that through the day and you'll have more energy, you can do more, you can do the right things that are really the best for you and everyone else. Everything falls into place.
I love it. I'm thinking again about that. I mean, that, you know,
great hope of meditation, you know.
Absolutely. And it's like, look, you know, try it for 30 days. Heck, try it for a day. Heck, try it for just the 20 minutes that you mentioned and see what happens. See how you feel.
I think that's key. Like, don't set up too big a challenge for yourself. Just my intention is to meditate every day. There are days when I miss or I do something similar and I'll think, oh, that's okay, because actually I did do some deep relaxation or I was kind of attuning when I was waking up. Don't beat yourself up about any of it, but have the intention that every day you will meditate, rather than I've got to do this for 21 days or I've got to do it for 16 or whatever. This is a life skill and it's so portable. The thing I love about it is it doesn't matter where in the world I am, what time of day it is. If I need to really refresh myself, get myself together, I can at least give myself some meditation time.
I love it. More to come on this topic.
Lovely.
I thank you. Again, like I'm in a bit of a Zen mode right now after even chatting about this. So
and that happens. We entrain. You see, there's a thing called entrainment where our brain waves start to match. So when with whatever we're talking about or thinking about, alters where our brain waves are, and then you and I are sharing that, and our brain waves start to match as well. So we're both really Zen. So if you want to change the way you work and the people around you, we talked about this last week, being the spiritual warrior. This is the way to do it. You set the vibration.
Sorry, I'm like, that's awesome. Yes, I totally agree. No, it's like, you know, in the past, I wanted to immediately jump back with a question or a comment. I'm like, no, I just kind of want to dwell on that. But
yeah.
Indira, thank you.
Truly, my favorite topic, my absolute favorite topic.
Oh, and actually, now that I've been practicing it, I can actually relate to it. And I can go, hell yeah, heck yeah. You know, this is
great.
Embrace and demystify and understand it and know that it's not just for monks and it's not just for people with like, you know, beads and, you know, yogis sitting like under a tree. Like this is just, like you said, it can be done anywhere. Just doing it. Yeah. Let's just start there.
Putting love into action, but you know, you're a big inspiration in that sense. I think if we can just share stories that will then inspire people to give it a try, the world is going to be a far better place because there'll be more of us doing it.
I agree. Like you said, we'll bring those brain levels down to that same space.
Yeah.
All right. Well, big hugs, Indira. Big hugs, everyone. Lots of love. And until next time, know you to be you. Try the meditation. And thank you again, Indira. Take care.
All right. Thanks. See you soon.
You got it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.